Alrighty then, well, what I'm doing this evening is I was investigating the possibility of putting this bumper cover back on this Volvo 760. When I got this, the bumper cover's in the back, and the lady that owned this car for me, she said she tapped somebody, and when she did, the bumper cover flew off into the middle of the intersection. So, unfortunately, this bumper cover is not going to be usable because it's got a huge broken spot right there where it folded in on itself. And of course, we all know that European plastics, when they get old, they're not resilient, so they just break and crack. So that bumper cover is unfortunately junk. So I think tomorrow morning early, I'm going to get up and ride up to the Mad Max junkyard and see if I can find another bumper cover and maybe a couple of lights and a couple of little things I need. But what I'm doing right now is this car, you heard it when it was running, it had a loud main fuel pump. The main fuel pump on these is under the car. It's a little carrier assembly. And these cars also have a what's called a transfer pump or a lift pump, but it's an in-tank pump. The tank's back under the bottom of the car here, and it's a low pressure pump which just simply helps pressurize the fuel system. It keeps that main fuel pump from having to do all the work. So that thing is really loud and buzzy and doesn't sound too happy. So what I suspect is this lift pump might or might not be dead. I mean, it's not operable. And when that happens, the main pump has to do all the work, and so it really works extra hard to try to pull fuel through that dead fuel pump back there. So it's not a good thing to have happen because it'll burn this pump out pretty quick. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the floor panels back there pulled up to get access to the access plate on these. This is another one of these vehicles that the engineers are smart enough to design an access panel. It's not like some of them where you have to drop the tank out, but we can get in there and do a little bit of testing and see if I can verify or confirm or deconfirm, whatever you want to say. Anyway, confirm or rule out that pump's dead. So I'm going to do that now. So I'll see you then. Okay, well, I try to show some more detail. Sometimes folks show you things and they kind of just don't really go into much detail. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more detailed here, complement other videos. But here's this access panel. It's not really an access panel, it's just the carpeted panel that goes behind the rear seats. And you're looking at it from the bottom. You've got a nut here, nut there. You take those out. And then what has to happen is these two, this and that, slide under these little spots on the floor here, like so you just pull the whole thing towards the front of the car and it unclips from there. So I've got to get in there and get busy with my shop vac again. I see, but there's the fuel pump access, so that'll get us into testing our fuel pump. Hopefully we'll see. Woo. Alright, well, I'm pretty confident this lift pump in here is dead. I've turned the key off and on several times and I can't hear it doing anything. But it's kind of hard to hear real clearly with me being up here and the pump being back here. So I'm going to use you guys. I'm going to use the camera here and I'm going to set it in there and get the key and see if we hear a whine of any type besides what I do. So I'm going to just put you in here. Whoops. Put you in here and see if I can set you up there. The fact is, I'm going to turn you upside down. Don't get too dizzy, but put the mic down where it's down close to the pump and we'll see what we hear there. Close the door. You ready back there? Good. Put this thing off. Alright, here we go. Off. On. Off. On. I just think I'm getting nothing. Getting nothing here. So anyway, I'm gonna put that back where it goes. I want to show you guys something funny real quick. I had the residence. I had the stuff folded up here a while ago. I was looking around in here a little bit and oops, my socket. Dig that out, but I saw something funny in here I want to show you, so I can have to have a spare. You can see this or not, but the tread is separated off the temporary spare tire real bad. Yeah, that ain't good. That tire's junk, even though it's reinforced. This is probably the original because it says made in Sweden right there, so Swedish meatball. We call this car a Swedish meatball possibly. So I'm deciding if I want to do one of my favorite things in the world, and that is to change light bulbs. I may do that. So anyway, there's the fuel pump test. I'll load this up at some point, but I'm going to go back and listen to it. So okie dokie. Well, thanks for participating. And you know, as somebody always says that does these videos, if you feel this information has been useful, please rate, comment, subscribe, or something like that. Anyway, good old Robert. See you guys. Have a good one. Okay, then I'm going to give you the abridged version of how to get this sending unit out of this Volvo 760. You can see I've already got it pulled out of place here. But anyway, this thing's a pain. You got 4 connections on it. This is a vent. That's your filler. That large one's your fuel feed. The smaller one back down there, that's your return from the fuel system. And then normally this is held in with a ring right here, which I've got just laying down there, but this is it. You just take I took my large screwdriver and my mallet, and I just started tapping it counterclockwise to loosen it, and then it just runs right off. Here's the fun part that I've been fighting with. This is the connector to it. This is the electrical connector, and it comes right down here onto this thing. You see that? In typical European fashion, there's no quick connect on the top of that. So you have to follow that bitch all the way back here, and it comes through the rear firewall here. This is it. It's got a grommet right down here, and it's tie wrapped to that thing. That's your fuel filler. Oh, by the way, up there, that fuel filler's got a connector hose on it. I'll show you that just in a second. So you gotta unclip this, get it loose there, take that thing out of the way, and then you keep on following it around, and it comes over here into the storage compartment and comes up, and it's clipped up in here along with the rest of these wires here. It's clipped up in here with one of those stupid tire wraps. I'm kind of irritated, that's why I'm calling it names. Here's your connector all the way the frig back here, not up there where it's convenient to get to, but back here. So now you gotta run this wire, you gotta pull it all the way back through that grommet. Well, the grommet comes out, and I'm sorry the camera's foggy, humidity veil here, and then pull it all out there, and then we should be able to weasel that thing out. That crazy or what? Yeah, put the connector back here in the back. Alright, I'll follow up on this in a while. It's getting late today. I'm gonna get this out and probably call it a day. And now that thing's acting up again. I tell you, that's been the worst one of those I've ever had. course, I got my money's worth. I didn't get much for it, so I ain't got much out of it. It's doing something, running weird again. So I don't know what's wrong with it. Fuel pump, I don't know. Crank sensor, could be, I don't know. Coil pack, I don't know. Only symptom it gives is it flashes a PO304, and that's a misfire in cylinder 4. But it's got you rev it up to about 5,000 RPMs in gear, and it just falls on its face. So I don't know what it's doing. So I guess in the morning I'm gonna get up and go to the jungle up there and get some good used parts off another protege and see if I can get it fixed. Get tired of that car real quick. See you guys. Okay, well, I got this pump and the fuel sending unit assembly out now, and okay, laying here on the ground. It's kind of an unusual looking arrangement, but of course everything on a Swedish car is unusual. But anyway, I want to give you some detail of this harness so that when you go to take this all loose, that you're not going to end up getting frustrated and rip something apart and stuff. Because all the way back on, I don't know about a sedan. The sedan's probably in the trunk, but on this car in here, like I showed you, it's in the left side storage compartment. It's where it connects. And then one thing I neglected to show you when I was taking it out a while ago, taking this loose, was there's a ground there that grounds into the floor. It's got a 10mm bolt on it. So you're just going to undo those two things, and then you're going to work on getting this out. I've already detailed to you your connections. As you can see, a little detail here. This is your pump. Mounts down here. It's got a little spring clip and 2 wire connections. You got a black one back there, and then you're going to have a red one right there. So it's pretty cut and dried on how that works. And these are just not going to come off up here. You don't take anything loose, so don't go yanking on them. And this is your sending unit for your fuel. It's almost like a commode float to me. So this is how you get this out. And you're also going to have, I've got it in the car in there. I'll show it to you when I go to put all this back together or whenever. But you got a little rubber lip seal that goes into the tank, and that's what this fits into. So that seals it. And you got a little sock thing on the bottom, which this one's disintegrating. So you had a hole in it. Hole on the bottom. It's coming apart, so it wasn't doing any good to filter anything, and it might be actually what messed the pump up. So I'm going to test that pump, but it did not run earlier. So what I'm going to do to get this out is I'm just going to disconnect this line right here and loosen the bolt on the clamp, this little Phillips screw, and pull this off carefully, and then we're going to undo our wire connections. And you want to keep track of how that works. I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be according to normal convention on wiring, that red is positive and black is negative. Sometimes you'll see white, and sometimes you'll see orange and some stuff like that possibly, but right now we're just going to assume that that's correct, but you should have some markings on this pump that'll tell you which is which. So, and like I said, this is the low pressure transfer pump is what this is called. This just essentially helps, it primes the main pump under the car, and it just helps supply fuel. It's not even enough fuel pressure for the engine to even run on its own. If you only run it on this pump, it won't start. So if you ever have what you suspect to be fuel pump problems, then suspect this one last, because this one won't, this one, you know, how do I say this to make some sense? It's not going to stop or start the engine. This pump, if it's running or it's not running, doesn't make any difference as far as the engine running. The engine has to have the main pump running to start and run. It won't run otherwise. So if that pump under there is working, it'll start. If that pump under there is not working, it's not going to start, even if this one is working. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart and do that this evening. And then tomorrow I'll run over and get, if this pump turns out to be bad, and I'm sure it is, but I'll double check it. Because I can tell this has never been out before, ever. This is the original 20, 7-year-old pump, so it's probably shot. And then according to the luck, that one under there will probably go bad now too, because it's been having to suck. See, what happens is why you don't want to run these things on just one pump is because that you can see the path that the fuel has to flow through. It has to flow from the tank up through this dead pump, which is not running, and then through the fuel line out to the fuel system right there. So you don't want to run it with a bad pump back here. So that has to be replaced. So if this thing ever gets like this, when you heard this, you just hear the pump under here going like crazy. And it sounds like it's really working. It's because it really is working. It's having to do the work for it and this one that's not working anymore, in a matter of speaking. But and you know, the thing is that there's no real easy way to test this pump, because that you just essentially have to take the cover off back there and get a helper to turn the key on, and then you should hear it run back here. I think this one runs all the time. I don't think this one goes through a relay. The main pump under there goes through a relay, and that's where people have so many problems with the relays going bad, because the pump won't prime and blah blah blah. Now that one, the way this car, the fuel injection system is designed on this car, the pump does not run when you turn the key on. It runs briefly when you turn it back to off, and I was trying to figure that out. I was like, what in the world is all that about? Why is it not running when you turn the key on? And somebody had explained to me that these are designed that the fuel pump, the main fuel pump, does not get energized to start pumping fuel until the computer sees crankshaft rotation in the engine. So, whatever. That's the way it is. Okay, there's your fuel pump removal primer on 740s and 760s and probably 240s. Be pretty close. Appreciate you watching, and we'll pick back up on this if I need to show you anything interesting, but I don't think I will. So please rate and comment, subscribe, and check out Robert's videos on his channel, Robert DIY. He's got a lot of Volvo stuff, a lot of Volvo 850 stuff, so check him out. So, see you guys. Have a good one. Well, just a addendum to this. Got this pump motor out, and yeah, this thing was all apart. This filter, it was disintegrating, and you can see kind of when it just kind of crumbles. So that wouldn't be surprising if that's what did in the pump, if it is indeed down in, but I think it is. So I'll test it and make sure. But anyway, I was looking on the end of this, and I took a picture just to make sure that I was right about when I put this back together with another pump motor, that I had the right connectors in the right spot. So it's going to be impossible for you to see, but I can see down in, this is getting dark, but right down in there, my finger's pointing in that little crevasse, there's a plus on this side and there's a negative on this side, so that'll help you remember how this goes. And I took a picture, you know, it sits in there like this, so got the little piece here on the side of it. But something even more interesting I saw on the back side of this thing. You see that here in the dark? You see that AC? Well, that stands for AC Delco. So this is obviously an AC Delco fuel pump motor. So now I have no idea if this has been out. This could have been out, but I'm guessing not, because it all looks original. It looks, everything looks like it's just never been touched. So, you know, if that's the case, then that Volvo reminds me a lot of American Motors, that they just use components from anything that'll fit. You know, American Motors used to use, they had their own engines, but they used other engines. They used GM engines, they used Chrysler transmissions, they used Chrysler rear ends. They'd use a air conditioning compressor from one manufacturer and the power steering from another, and just this way Volvo seems to be, because I've seen AC fuel pump motor, and it's got an AC Delco charcoal canister on it, and it's got a bunch of Bosch stuff that says Germany on the electric. So really, other than the body and the interior, there's not a whole lot on this car that was actually made by Volvo. Doesn't seem to be. So Yeah, I mean, you know, the running gear, but I'm just talking about the resonance, the ancillary components. It's getting dark, guys, so I got to turn this off. I'm going to spend the rest of the evening doing videos because I'm so behind on videos. So get cleaned up and do that, I guess. And I guess in the morning I'm going to go see if I can get some protege parts. I'll be glad to see that thing go down the road. Have a good one. See you later. Okay, gonna give this pump a quick test. This is the old one. Got my leads hooked up to the battery. Nothing. It's dead as a doornail. That's what I thought. Next.